Good morning and welcome to another episode of PBB, which is the Peninsula Biz Buzz. My name is Shelley Smith here for Premier Report and Penn Sherm. Over to you, Bob.
Morning, it's Bob McKenna from the Virginia Peninsula Chamber of Commerce, President and CEO, and this is the newest version, this newest episode of Peninsula Biz Buzz, and we're here today with Charvalla West, who is the Chief Operations Officer and Community Impact Director. Is that right, Charvalla?
That's correct.
Director of Community Impact for United Way of the Virginia Peninsula. And so
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Oh, it's great having you, Charvalla. I would rather be working on the initiatives we were working on 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago, but this is what we got, and we're going to fight through it, and we're going to fight through it with United Way. So a great community partner. So Charvalla, on that note, can you talk a little bit about the mission of the United Way on the Virginia Peninsula 6 weeks ago? What were you doing before all this?
So our mission is to improve the quality of lives for folks in our community. And we do that by bringing people together across various sectors around issues related to poverty. Our collective impact agenda, Pathways Out of Poverty, is designed around 10 community aspirations. Aspirations like ensuring that everyone has access to human services, ensuring that we have affordable and equitable housing opportunities for folks in our community. And so before this, we were doing a lot of work around STEM education, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, bringing so many wonderful leaders in our community together to streamline our processes, to coordinate our efforts, to ensure that we were addressing those opportunities from education to workforce development and training. We also were doing a lot of work around transportation, making sure that folks had access for their chronic care appointments, as well as transportation to get to training and education and employment. Those are just some of the things we were doing.
And how has your mission evolved in the last 4 weeks?
So as a community, our quality of life has drastically changed. And so our mission has been more centered around relief and response efforts to the coronavirus outbreak. And that looks like introducing an emergency fund, which we did about 4 weeks ago now. And the response from the community, the generosity in this community has been overwhelming. Just providing a way for folks to contribute who can their financial gifts to those in need. Some of the needs that we've seen arise so far are food. People needing food in their homes as their children are home from school. And it's not just a nonprofit community that's addressing this issue. It's also been our school systems, and even some restaurants and hospitality industry have really stepped up to address this need. In addition to the community fund, we've been partnering with other funders across the community to coordinate our efforts to ensure that we are making the most impactful effort that will last throughout this crisis.
So the sense of community that we're seeing, and we saw before actually, but the sense of community that we've been seeing for the last 4 weeks is heartening. And it's one of the good news stories of what's going on. And there's not a whole lot of good news stories, but certainly the way the community is pulling together is going to get us through this. And you guys are kind of the focal point of that.
Well, it's been such an honor and a privilege and very humbling to be able to tell a good story during this time. Not only have folks come together to give financially, but just in the nonprofit community, the service that has been available to people in need is astounding. The food bank did a major distribution at Todd Stadium last week, serving over 450 households in 2 hours. And you can't do that. One organization can't fix the problem of food disparities right now. We've seen local pantries completely change their efforts to ensure that they are providing safety for their staff and the people who need food. We also have been recently introduced some virtual opportunities for folks to volunteer and contribute. And it's so exciting that people of all ages, children to adults, we've invited them to color pages from our website, send letters and video updates that will go to our first responders to show appreciation, to our hospital staff, our frontline staff that are keeping us safe and healthy, as well as to seniors in our community who are experiencing isolation on a level they haven't before. And so this is a way that anyone can contribute and make a difference in our community.
Charvalla, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, out of this, I'm always interested, what are some of the newfound things that you're going to carry forward into when our new reentry, new normal happens? So I'm curious if you guys are making note of some of these new things that you're doing, and are you going to continue them afterwards?
Well, so interestingly enough, I'm fairly new to my expanded role as Chief Operating Officer. And so for me personally, I have built some very important relationships over the last few weeks that I didn't have before. And of course, I wish they had been under different circumstances. But as Bob said earlier, we are bearing through this together. Mm-hmm. And the togetherness, I don't think you could have gotten in other circumstances. So that's been phenomenal. And we, I think, have had to be creative in how we reach out to folks in our community, especially the younger generations. So I think that's definitely something we'll continue to keep as a focus in our efforts to mobilize folks around issues.
Love it.
Okay, Charvalla, I got two things so we can wrap up here, but can you talk about if somebody needs emergency funds, where do they go to request? Where do they call? Do they go to a website? How do they get emergency funding request?
So first, United Way operates 2 information and referral services for households who are facing critical needs. For Newport News and Hampton, that's First Call. If you or anyone that you know is in need of assistance for food, for housing needs, things like that, you can reach First Call at 757-594-4636. And on the Upper Peninsula and the Greater Williamsburg area, there's the Community Resource Center, and they can be reached at 757-229-2222. Both services are fully functional by phone. We're doing intake and providing information by phone so that we're all safe. And for those organizations that are on the front lines of addressing critical needs, please go to our website. Today, we just opened the application for emergency funding. That's www.uwvp.org. Click on COVID-19 response, and the application will be available. It will be a very efficient application so that we can get funding to the community to meet the greatest needs as they arise.
Outstanding. And one last thing, Virtual Appreciation Project. How can anybody access that?
Also on our website, www.uwvp.org, and you'll see a tab for Virtual Appreciation Projects.
Outstanding. I think that's a great resource for parents who have kids at home who are trying to find some way to keep them engaged. And also, like you said, to show appreciation for the great work that's being done by our healthcare workers and public safety responders and people like that. So in our neighborhood, and I think it's all over the place, but 7 p.m. every night, people bang pots and sound horns, and it's all in appreciation of the healthcare workers and first responders. So we all have to be very grateful for what they're doing. So, and we're all very grateful for what you're doing at United Way, Virginia Peninsula, Charvalla. So thank you very much for being on with us today. And I look forward to working with you on STEM projects again in the future. So,
thank you both, Shelley and Bob, for having me today and for allowing us to tell this great story in the middle of all of this craziness.
We're going to have you on again later, and we're going to talk about all the good news coming out of this. Over to you, Shelley.
Exactly. So again, thank you for joining us today. If you are listening and you couldn't write that down quick enough, definitely go to the view recording of this, because I'll have those 4 specific links that she just gave us, and you'll be able to easily pull those and write those down. So that's it for today. My name is Shelley Smith. Back over to you, Bob, for a final thought.
Bob McKenna, and I don't have any final thoughts other than be safe out there today and wash your hands. And we'll see you soon. Thanks very much.
Thank you.